Sweet and Peachy.
Hello and welcome to Sweet and Peachy with me, Lizzie.
Me, Lee from Leading a Sweet Life and Foodie Book Club.
This week we are talking about cancel culture, which I'll be honest, I've never even heard of until I started this. So, but basically it is, it's everywhere at the minute, it's all over the news, all over social media and everything, but it's a social censor, and it's a way of publicly shaming people when we feel that kind of the traditional way of dealing with things that we might not approve of hasn't been done properly. I don't know if you want to add to that, Lee. It's
Well, do you know what? It's weird because, as you know, I'm a bit obsessed with YouTube and all of this sort of thing because I'm that sad, right? And so it's literally everywhere. And all I've been seeing is cancel culture. And part of me thinks it's really good, but part of me thinks it's like the whole shaming thing is weird because what's happening is people are taking past grievances and bring them into the present and saying you shouldn't have done it, you know, and shaming people like for blackface and all that sort of stuff, which is absolutely right. People shouldn't today in this day and age, but
yeah.
20 years ago it wasn't. I'm not saying it was right. Before anybody says anything, I'm not saying it was right, but however, it wasn't a thing. You know what I mean? It wasn't a thing. We didn't know, and I'm claiming that we didn't know that it was socially unacceptable. It was just something that we did, right? And things move on. So a part of me goes, yes, we should be doing it. And the other part goes, but be careful what you do. Because there's some on this list, we're going to do the top 5, some on this list which need to be cancelled, in my opinion, and I'll talk you through those. But can I just say, please subscribe. We've still only got 20 people. And click the like, because that helps us as well, please. Okay, so shall we go on with the first one?
Yes, let's go.
Number 5. Okay, keep me on time here though, Lizzie, because you know I'll talk.
Right.
This is Shane Dawson, who you said you didn't know who it was. Ask your kids, okay? So Shane Dawson, right, is a makeup guru and on YouTube. Now, you see, before I even happened with this, I had no idea that there were makeup gurus, right? But apparently they are, and they're worth millions and millions and millions, right? So years ago, he started on a different platform and then transferred to YouTube. And he started off doing stupid videos, right? You know, getting people watching, all the kids watching everything. So he did blackface. He did a lot of racial slurs. He one of the worst things that he's done is Jada Smith called him out on Twitter for what's her name, Willow. I don't even want to say this, but I shall mime it, okay? So he had a picture of Willow. You know that song she had when she was whip her hair back.
Yeah.
Your face. He had a picture of Willow, a poster, and he was sitting there and he was saying improper things that he would like to do while he was miming it. Okay, to this 11-year-old poster. Obviously, Jada and Jaden found out, and they're all over Twitter saying cancelled. So there's that. So you know, because his past behaviour really wasn't past. So
yes, yeah that. Because you hear quite a lot of stories where people will pull up like MPs for a tweet 15, well, I don't think it was around 15 years ago, but you know, like really, really old stuff.
Some joke that was, you know, that was going around at the time. That, you know, it doesn't mean it was right. It was just funny. So that's Shane Dawson. And the other one, number
4
is another makeup guru, right?
I know who this one is. Yeah. He's quite scary. Jeffree Star.
Jeffree Star. You see, I didn't. How did you know this person?
Oh, kids. Yeah.
Kids, you see, I didn't. I only knew because he's been in so much trouble with lots of other things. And it sounds like he likes to get in a bit of trouble, Jeffree Star.
Yeah, it's that shock kind of culture, isn't it? Like doing it for the likes and...
Sounds like he's a bit of a bitch as well.
I can, yeah. From the short bits I've seen, you know, like if you're just walking past and you happen to glance at him on the screen, I'm like,
yes, you do.
I'm just checking they're not looking at things they shouldn't be. Although, now I found out a little bit more about him, I don't think they should be looking at him. But yeah, he's just, I don't know, I'm not really a fan.
He's a contentious figure, but he put out the one thing, I mean, there's lots of others, but one thing he's trying to be cancelled. I don't think this guy will ever be cancelled though, because he's very good at business and he's got a very good PR thing. going on, right? And he says things, he winds things up in the background, it seems, and then just lets it go. But one of the things he put out over the lockdown was a palette that he called Cremated. Okay, yeah. Now this was apparently this was all planned before that happened, which I can sort of see, because you don't really put something out that quickly, do you? You know, it has to be planned. Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of work goes into it behind the scenes.
It was all greys and things like that, but he could have probably changed the name, maybe, I don't know. Anyway, so it was literally the sort of beginning of lockdown when lots and lots of deaths were happening. The good thing is, which is why I say he's got a good PR, is he got all of this publicity and it sold out. So we're trying to cancel people, but nobody's really cancelling them. You know, unless if they want something, they're not cancelling them.
There's a lot of that Me Too. I know, I'm not using that in terms of the actual hashtag campaign, but Me Too is in, I want to get on board with that, and I want to say my thing and have my opinion. And you know, there's all the jokes about Karens. Which...
I meant to say, we should do Karen. I can't stop watching that. And we've got to do a Karen.
So funny.
I love it.
But it's them, isn't it? They're the ones that like, this is despicable. This is not okay. Yeah. You know, probably kicking off because a man's putting makeup on. And do you know what I mean? It's like, doesn't matter. Like,
although he has been featured on an old Nazi website.
Excellent.
Yeah. So you know, he has bullied James Charles and other people and set people up. So he's not. I don't think he's been the angel, but
whiter than white. But
yes. Okay. Number three. Oh, Lea Michele Glee. Lea Michele. Do you know who she is from Glee?
I have watched Glee before. Which one is she?
The star, the dark-haired one.
What, Rachel?
Is that what she's called? Yeah, the big star.
One that's like always doing Broadway songs and.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean,
yeah, she looks like a bit of an ass.
Right. So she's pregnant at the moment. So bless her. Hope everything goes well. Okay. So what happened is she did the whole. See, we keep saying Me Too thing, but I'm like you. Don't mean it as an.
Me as well.
Yeah, me as well. Okay. She did the whole Me as well thing when Black Lives Matter, and you know the whole blackout thing. So she did that. Put out a post going, and obviously I'm on board. And then some of her colleagues from Glee, those who are non-white, came back and said, hold on a second, all the microaggressions that you used to pull on us as black people, clean your act up. Okay, so there was that. And also things like, there was one of them where she wouldn't let anybody they were an extra, and actually they transitioned from an extra to a starring role, which is why I think they had a voice. So as an extra, this person just sat down at a table for lunch and she told them to move because you're nobody. So yeah, so you know, all I'm saying is be careful when you go up, because when you're there, people are going to knock you down. So she's been sort of tried to be cancelled, which is interesting because I think people are going to be too scared to say anything positive in some circumstances, because there's always something. There's always something,
and you'll always get pulled up on something. You know, like I have very deliberately stayed away from everything to do with like the whole Black Lives Matter, and not because I don't have an opinion, because I do, it's a very strong one, but I don't want to put myself out there saying stuff and then get a load of abuse back.
Exactly.
And it's, do you know what I mean? And like, yeah, I have no stress. But I mean, change is needed, obviously, but at the moment it seems that if you try and stick up for something, people will just deliberately go around looking for a way to undo you, which you know has happened. Like I said, the whole Black Lives Matter thing did seem to get grossly out of hand with all the destruction of the memorials and everything else. But then it's just, yeah, I mean, we didn't publicise a lot of stuff that we probably should have done. You know, more and more stories were coming out about you know, black people being killed, or like racially aggravated attacks and things like that, which ordinarily, you know, if it had been as a white male, there would have been a huge outcry, head would have rolled. But yeah, it's an odd one. Really
it is an odd one. And I when I'm doing tweets and stuff, it's really, I'm like you, I don't have any strong opinions whatsoever. I have really strong opinions. And I have discussions with my kids and with Mr. G about this, and I get really uptight. And yet I'm stopping myself from commenting too much on cancel culture, which is
Yes.
funny, but it's serious at the same time. These are people's lives, you know, and other things. It's number two.
I know who this one is as well. I'm quite proud of my little self.
See, I didn't know a lot about this person, Doja Cat.
Yes, I don't know much about her. I've just heard songs on the radio and stuff, but I didn't realise, like, obviously what we're now going to speak about, I didn't realise that this had happened.
The only reason I know about Doja Cat is because this has happened, which is interesting because it's the other way around. One of these songs resurfaced that was, I've got to go, not socially acceptable. I hate doing that. And the song was called Didn't Do Nothing. Apparently, that is a reference to, which mocks African Americans who experience police brutality. I didn't know that, so apologies to everybody out there. I didn't know that in my white privilege. So she had that, and she's saying that it wasn't, but I'm not sure whether it wasn't, and whether she just wanted to, I don't know, I'm not in her head. But also, she downplayed the pandemic, which is never a good thing. Never a good thing, especially at the beginning. And I sort of get why people have done it at the beginning, because it sort of came out of nowhere.
It really did.
And nobody knew what it was all about. So there were a lot of celebrities going online going, be safe, but are you sure it's that bad? And she did that, and later on, she actually got it. So I don't think she got it really bad, but did you just snigger there? Did you just snigger?
Karma.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are saying that. But I don't think she's going to be cancelled altogether, because it's back to that thing, well, people only will cancel people who they've had enough of anyway, if she's making good music. So they'll go, oh, we'll cancel you for a while, but hey, you know. Yeah,
and you'll have those die-hard fans that, you know, they don't really care. Do you know what I mean? Because there are so many, I'm going off topic here, but Eminem, for example, you know, what the hell? You know, it's some of the stuff in his background is really quite dark. He's done all these things. His own mother has sued him. It's that bad. And yet he's still making millions. I mean, I quite like most of his music. I do. I think he's ace. His music, not him. I find him very frustrating. And he just looks like he's had far too much involvement with drugs. But I think if you've got a genuine talent and people appreciate that, then sometimes they will overlook some other things. Because like Michael Barrymore, for example, you know, he didn't lose everything after the whole swimming pool incident. I mean, I'm sure no one ever wants to go around for a pool party anymore, but you know, but there's so many people, isn't there, who are in that position, and they've done something, whether deliberately or otherwise, been mixed up in something that has been horrendous.
Well, my thing is, like, if they're privileged, if they're stars or whatever, they like screen, TV, YouTube, whatever, there does seem to be a rule for one and not for another. Because if that was somebody who just happened to have a party and had a swimming pool in the back garden and somebody died, they'd be in jail. You know what I mean? It's not fair. So, do you know what? I'm going to say that the first one, number one, you will have heard this one. Number one, I put this as biggie, because we're going to do number two, aren't we? Because there's lots of them.
We're doing an episode 2, yes.
Episode 2.
I'm not going to sit here and do a number 2.
So number one, Ellen DeGeneres. I mean, the whole world must know what's going on with Ellen DeGeneres now. I mean, it's just
crazy. I mean, I've never actually watched her show.
I haven't. No.
So I obviously I know who she is. I know her best as the voice of Dory.
Of course, for young kids, yes.
But obviously she's been this massive like gay icon, hasn't she? Because you know she's married to. I don't know, are they married? Yeah. She's a long-time relationship at least with another woman. Always been very open about that, and probably done some really great things.
She's the one who, when she had the Ellen, like the comedy show, she actually came out on television as I'm gay, and the ratings went down. They cancelled the show. I mean, that in itself shows you the difference in what's happening now. So we got cancel culture. She was cancelled for being gay, and now you get a show for being gay. So you know, please forgive people, because it's a different time, isn't it? So yeah.
I think, but yeah, then obviously the things that are coming to light now.
I know.
Obviously, I've got no idea how much of it is true versus people just getting on the bandwagon and trying to cause trouble. But some of it's really quite worrying.
It is. And it's somebody started, I can't remember the guy's name, but it was somebody who started this Twitter thing and just put out there, because her catchline at the end is "be kind" or "be kind to each other" or something like that.
Lol.
Which you know, if you're going to have that, you got to live up to it.
Buy it, yeah.
And somebody said, you know, are there any other experiences? And this Twitter thing just went absolutely ape. It just came out of nowhere. People going, she's done this, she's done this, she's done this. And if you go online and see some of the stuff you can see she's recorded that she's done, shamed the audience and all that sort of thing. It's really quite bad. But what also clicked onto that Twitter feed, or vice versa, was she didn't treat her staff well. So she was in lockdown, right? And she apparently, when they had this feud, staff feud, where they were trying to get people to go into unions, her people didn't, because they wanted to carry on with the show, because she backed them and all this sort of thing. So they weren't in a union. I think that's true. Correct me if I'm wrong. So when she was in lockdown, okay, she didn't hire her staff to do the program from home. The ones that supported her, she got some other staff to do the production stuff on her show, right? That's the first thing. You're going, what? She hasn't paid. She didn't let anybody on the staff know for like months what was going on, paying or anything like that. Okay. What? So that was another thing. I know that's another thing. Toxic work culture. In fact, there's an investigation by Warder Media now on the whole toxic work culture, because people aren't supposed to look at her, speak to her. If you go into her dressing room, you're going to like this. She doesn't like smells. Apparently, she's really got a good sense of smell. So you have to chew chewing gum before you go in. And if she thinks you smell, you have to go home, have a shower, and then come back to work.
That's amazing. I've got a dog-like sense of smell, so I can see where she's coming from with the breath thing, because that really upsets me. But I'm not going to start sending people away to go get washed.
And then I think what topped it all, and what really tipped people over the edge of making it happen, that made everything else come out, was that when she was on lockdown, she made a joke for her program in lockdown, saying that she was like, her lockdown was like being in prison, as she sat in this multi-million pound, dollar, whatever mansion with, right, and people are going, I think she made some joke about it's been in lockdown, but some sort of gay slur as well, you know, gay sex.
Well, the same thing happened with Sam Smith, didn't it?
Yes.
Remember, he did this horrible, snotty, emotional video thing, and he was like, oh, it's so hard, and everyone's like, shut up, like, there's people out here, we can't afford to shop because we're not getting paid, yet you're a millionaire. So yes, it sucks that you have to stay at home and can't go anywhere or see anyone, but you're not starving, you know, you've got food, drink, water, a bed.
I think my lights have just gone out. Hello.
No, it got a bit dark there, you're right.
Weird. Don't know what's going on there. Oh,
there you go.
Well, so that's
live.
Hello, live. Everything's always going wrong with this side. I don't know what the heck's going on with this. Yes, so that's the five I've got so far. Next time I've got other ones, and my favourite one, which is, I think she's the one who started it all. But do you think people are gonna be cancelled forever, or do you think it's gonna stop, or do you think it's just because of lockdown? Because part of me thinks that even though you can put on Twitter your name or your handle, it is still anonymous, and you can get involved with a group. So it's like it's safe in group, because group mentality.
Yeah, safety in numbers kind of thing. I don't know, it's weird, because I think people, you get like keyboard warriors, don't you, who, you know, if you met them in the street, they wouldn't say a thing, but they're quite happy to, like, I get it a lot from vegans, actually, because I talk about meat a lot. I cook a lot with meat. I buy meat direct from my friend's farm, and so I'll be like, look at this big juicy steak. This is amazing. This is from, you know, and I get so much heat for it. It's like, it's just meat. Like, you know, I'm not abusing anyone, or, you know, this has been so carefully reared and looked after, and everything, every part of its life has been lovely. It's not from some kind of awful meat factory in Thailand or something, you know, like imported cheap chicken and things where you see the pictures and they're all crushed into cages. And obviously everyone's entitled to their opinion, don't get me wrong, but
sometimes people just stay in their lane. I mean, you know, there's some of these things that I'm thinking, yes, but do people change over time? Because like I said, it sort of annoys me when people are brought up, like a joke on Twitter they've had, you know, especially the comedians. A lot of comedians are being cancelled, and you go, that's their job. Their job is to be topical, and at the time that was topical. It may not be right, but that's what they do. And you didn't complain then, so why, you know what I mean?
We're so focused on being politically correct now.
Yeah.
Whereas actually, I think we probably need to do a little bit more work in our own backyard before we start.
I know I do. I mean, I'm still learning. You know, I'm talking to my kids about it, and my kids are not small; they're older, so they can have a conversation with me about all the Black Lives Matter and the stuff that I don't, because I never thought I had a problem, and I don't think I have. But partly by not even thinking you've got a problem gives you a problem. So who knew?
What's that all about?
Yeah,
it is crazy. And I think as well, like I had a discussion with a friend about this, and we were talking, and I was quite anti the whole protest thing. I mean, absolutely, I understand there needs to be change and everything else, but when they were just looting shops and things, that's actually destroying people's livelihoods.
Yeah.
Rather than, you know, but she then referenced, and she was very much right to do so, women getting the vote through suffragettes, and obviously it was the really, you know, was it Emily King that threw herself off the horse, and you know that is extreme. But obviously it worked.
Yeah.
So it's a weird one, isn't it? Because
it is. I mean, I think now, there's a time for extreme. Now, I personally think that it's now, because it's now. I mean, I know that sounds really weird, but you know what I mean? It happens when it happens. I'm not saying it shouldn't have happened earlier, but now's the time that everybody's sort of got on board, and that's makes it the right time. But I'm still confused, and if anybody wants to, you know, put messages in there, please do, because I listen, you know, I'm willing to learn. But next time we're going to be doing episode
2
of the cancel culture. Yes, is that what we're doing?
Yes, we are. But also, I'd really like to know who people want to see cancelled as well.
Oh,
shade.
As long as they don't say us, is that all right?
You have to listen. Eh? I'm sitting here drinking my gin.
Drinking your gin.
Right, and on that note, we will see you next week.
I don't forget to subscribe and like. Bye.
Sweet and peachy.